Hello, and today we'll be playing By Your Hands. We're going to start with part 2 of day 5 for Kamil. After setting my locker, I turned and joined the others making their way out to the field ready for another long, sweaty afternoon. Chill out at the house anyway, so that works for me. Say, nice. How about you, Kadir? So good, man. I'm taking Penny out. She's been really wanting to try out that Francisco's place, and I was finally able to get a reservation. Fancy smancy. Well, have fun. You know it. How about you, Rex? Want to hang out? I was almost too focused to hear the Griffin's question. It took me a moment to derail my train of thought. Sorry, but I think I've already got plans for tonight. Damn. Oh well, maybe next time. Though, just 3 ain't exactly a party. I mean, if you're doing a team thing, there's plenty of guys here. I nodded towards the other end of the locker room, where the defense and junior varsity members were changing out of their practice uniforms. Good one. Think White's going home for the weekend, and Daddy's got his thing on Friday, so what are you guys gonna be doing? Movie night? Game night? Whatever it is, you can count me in. Know what? Yeah, that works out perfect. Alright, Reggie didn't give Gary a smack on the ass. He did win up for it, and the Griffin did tense in anticipation, but the independent let out an awkward laugh while looking from me to Gary and back again. My focus drifted away from the pair and back towards the locker room at large, looking from one burly house-dressed male to the next, trying to catch a glimpse of tan fur and curved horns. Trying to catch sight of where Yusuf had gotten to. The yak was usually so quiet and reserved, it was easy to forget he was even there. As a matter of fact, come to think of it, I couldn't even remember seeing him changing or souring with the others on the team at any point over the week. He had left already, had he? He wasn't with any of the other males on the offensive line with the defense players or with the JVs. I stripped out of my uniform and entered the showers, looking around for him in there. No luck. With a huff, I made my way towards an open shower head and began cleaning myself off, taking my time with it, really scrubbing myself down, if only to see whether Yusuf was just lagging behind everyone. I finally finished and dried off just as the rest of the team was heading back out to chase and then go their separate ways. It was only then that I saw Yusuf step out of the doorway leading into the toilet stall area into the showers, the towel wrapped around his torso clutched in a tight hold. Head ducked low. Head ducked low, not looking at anyone, moving quick as though to avoid everyone else's gaze in turn. Huh? Again, I took my time of getting dressed, and not for the usual reason. Every so often, my eyes would drift back over towards the doorway into the showers, watching for Yusuf to emerge. It didn't take too long. It didn't take too much time for the yak to do so. Just as I was pulling on my shirt, I caught movement out of the corner of my eye as he darted back towards the toilet stalls. Maybe he just wanted some privacy, or maybe he was sorry about chasing around everyone else. Either way, I knew where he was, and I was in the perfect place to catch him coming back out once he finished getting dressed as well. I turned back to my locker and busied myself with rifling around so that I'd have an excuse to linger. It was probably a good idea to watch what I had over the weekend anyway, so while I waited for Yusuf to emerge once more, I busied myself with gathering my practice clothes up and tucking them away in my bag. And there he was. I turned as he approached. I gave my nod and a closed-mouthed smile, ready to greet him politely. I watched as he moved past me and over towards where Kamil was grabbing stuff out of his locker. Hey, what's up? You could probably use a haircut. Well, thank you for the honesty, man. Though you're probably right. It is getting a little long in the back, I guess. I was gonna head over to get mine cut at the practice, so you wanna just come along? Sure. Cool. Then the yak turned to look over at me, the sudden movement almost making me jump out of my skills. I hadn't meant to listen in, but I was more than a little confused. He wanted to talk with me, hadn't he? Why was he? You should come too. And there was my train of thought dwelled again. It's not like I had any hair for the cut, so I didn't exactly need to get it trimmed to make it look nicer. Though Kamil's mother had let me tag along on occasion back when we were young, Kamil was getting his cut. But for the most part, that was just so I could. Oh, sure. I could hang out for a bit. Right. Kamil was looking back and forth between me and Yusuf, his ears and tail flicking. I just offered him a closed mouth, smile shrug. I'm ready to head out if you guys are. Alright then, give me just a few minutes. A few minutes later, we were leaving campus and heading down the sidewalk together, Yusuf and I on either side of the crocodile. The place Yusuf had in mind was apparently pretty close by, not exactly downtown, so we wouldn't have to walk too far, still just spending the time with the other two males was pretty nice. Even if they were both pretty quiet. Kamil glanced over at the yak, Yusuf's ear flicking. Okay, it was really awkward. Better than things had been in the morning though, at least. Just before the silence could get too prickly, we arrived at 40 cuts. With a too wide grin, Kamil surged forward to hold the door open for me and Yusuf, then follow us in. Hello, welcome. Please come in. I was almost taken aback by the flamingo's enthusiasm, only almost though. Kamil stifled and stayed behind Yusuf, who gave the avian a small smile. Hey Fiero. Yusuf, honey, it's been far too long. Just look at that absolute mope you turn your curls into. Simpering with an over-dramatic pout, Fiero reached for one of Yusuf's curls to give it a brief, light tug. Instead of snorting and jerking his head away, the yak laughed. What, you don't like it? Like it? It's atrocious. I will not let you step back out that door until you're presentable again. And the same goes for your... He looked over at Kamil. He looked over to me. Oh my, who is this? Kamil gritted his teeth. I cleared my throat, trying to keep things from getting too tense. I could take care of myself. Everything was fine. I'm, Rex. Good to meet you. Believe you me, the pleasure's all mine. Another flick of the crocodile's ear, but just when he was starting to open his mouth. Sorry, Fiero, he's way too young for you. What? I can't try to be nice to our new customer? The flamingo laughed and then tipped me with a wink. I'm kidding, darling. Although, if you are interested, I could feel Kamil's gaze on the back of my neck. And, thank you, but... Oh well, can't blame a bitch for trying. A shrug and another laugh, light and flighty. If you don't mind me saying, though, you are quite a handsome young man. Why, if only you had some fur on that hair of yours, and maybe some luscious feathers, I'd love to get my seals on you. I could only sit from foot to foot, you think? I don't just think. Look at you. There's no doubt I could turn you into the vivid image of grace. Who's Grace? Ah, and he's a himbo too. Himbo. Don't worry about it. I look for the car. You two know each other? Unprofessionally, though not for lack of trying. Theo's my hairdresser. We like to talk to each other whenever I get my hair cut. Speaking of, the day's not getting any younger, and neither am I. Come along, Hunty. You go ahead and get yourself settled over in one of those chairs over there, Rex, darling. You too. With another overdramatic flourish, he turned to lead Yusuf behind the counter and towards the long line of barber chairs. With another glance towards Kamil, a light tug on the crocodile's wrist, I led him over to sit down and wait for the yak. To be honest, I hadn't thought Yusuf ever got his fur cut, considering how content he was to have his eyes covered by all that fluff. I watched as Fierro dug his hands into the yak's mop, pulling out strands and clumps so he could snip at them, comb them out straight, and then cut a bit more, even using an electric razor to carefully shear some off. Yusuf would grit his teeth in response to a particularly sharp tug from time to time, but otherwise stayed calm and still. And once Fierro got into what seemed to be a rhythm with it, the pair began talking about something or other. Kamil still had a solid expression as he watched the pair, his stern gaze focused on the flamingo. Kamil, are you okay? That startled the crocodile out of whatever train of thought he'd been following. He glanced over at me, some with the tension in his shoulders relaxing. I'm fine. It's nothing you need to worry about. Kinda hard not to worry when he was still making that face. I was still kicking myself for not pressing the issue earlier that morning. If this was going to be a problem, then we needed to sort it out. We'd always been able to before, right? Maybe I could make the less direct approach work. But just to let you know, if something was bothering you, you can tell me, man. I'm not doubting you or anything, I'm just saying. In the end, it was probably better to not push too much and prior to whatever was going on in his head. But at the same time, we were friends. He had always been there for me. Why couldn't I do the same for him? At last, he let out a long and gusty sigh, slumping into his seat. Yeah, I know. Thanks, man. Kamil finally looked over at me with a small, strained, tight-lipped smile. It still looked like his jaw was a little tense, but at least he wasn't trying to stare a hole straight through the back of Fierro's head anymore. He continued to sit in silence for a while until Yusuf was finally finished with his haircut. The yak and flamingo made their way back over to us, still chatting happily with one another. Get you two introduced. Maybe you could even make a night of it. Thank you, but I think I'll pass. Yusuf Hunty, you need to put yourself out there more. A big old stud like you shouldn't be hiding himself away all the time. I'll let that stud comment slide, but only because I like you so much. Are you two finished? We are, as a matter of fact. I suppose you're next. The crocodile snorted and opened his mouth. He sighed and nodded. That's right. Well then, this way. Kamil rose to his feet to follow the flamingo over to the barber's chair, his tail flicking and twisting nervously behind him, and glanced over at Yusuf as the yak settled into the vacated seat by my side, and then watched Fierro start his work once more. Just like before, the flamingo used his shears to shape the crocodile's hair fur, trimming here, cutting there, taking a few clumps between his fingers and sniping at the end of each strand. Unlike with Yusuf, however, Fierro stayed quiet throughout. It looked like he was trying to put on a smile, but continuously strained and faltered at the corners. Like the yak, Kamil looked tense. He stood and visited with every tug on his head fur, like he wanted to pull away from the flamingo's touch. Tilt your head forward, please. Ears up now. Alright, just a little more and you'll be the biggest hunk on the block. I can't do this. Kamil stood up and pulled off his smock, sending a flurry of red fur fluttering to the floor. While he stomped over towards us, the flamingo followed with a huff and a glare. Oh, I'm sorry. Was I being too excessive for you? All at once, a larger animal wheeled around to give Fierro a glare of his own, almost snarling in fury. I can't do this. Kamil stood up and pulled off his smock, sending a flurry of red fur fluttering to the floor. While he stomped over towards us, the flamingo followed with a huff and a glare. Oh, I'm sorry. Was I being too excessive for you? All at once, a larger animal wheeled around to give Fierro a glare of his own, almost snarling in fury. Excessive is a good fucking word for it. I don't think I can bear to be around you for another second. Believe me, the feeling's mutual, especially when you get pissy over every little fucking thing I try to do. What the fuck's wrong with you? Do you treat all your customers like this? Only they assholes. Kamil snorted, narrowed his eyes, and ground his teeth together. You know what? How about you get me your manager, we'll see if you keep that fucking attitude. That got a snide giggle out of the flamingo. Boo-hoo for you, honey. He's on vacay, so it's me or nothing. Well, fuck this then. With that, and another outraged snort, he stormed out. Before I could make a single move, Yusuf was out of his seat and stomping over towards the fuming flamingo. Damn it, Fierro, I told you to be patient with him. Fierro looked at the yak and clapped his beaks, sniffed, sighed, and shook his head. Yusuf, honey, I was trying. Really, I was. But I just don't have it in me to suck up to hypermass Indians with daddy issues. I know he's your friend, but if you want him to learn to tolerate the films, then you really shouldn't have started him off with a spicy bird platter. Maybe one of those fluffy gay rom-coms would be more his speed. Oh please, I think I'd be homophobic if that was my only exposure to gay people. Or fall asleep, one or two. Well, you gotta start somewhere, and the sallow end, emphasis on sallow, is better than nothing. The yak just answered with a long, low groan. Darling, you're way too young to be giving yourself wrinkles with all this unneeded stress. At the end of the day, it's his business if he wants to stay in the home or phobia. It still hurts to see him like that. The flamingo nodded, making sympathetic sounds all the while. I'm sorry for causing trouble with your friend. I'll make it up to you with a personal discount, alright? Alright, you're forgiven, and not just because of the discount. The atmosphere seemed to be much lighter for the other two animals, but I was still choking on the tension in my jaw and throat. It had to do something. I didn't know exactly what, but I was too full of anxious energy to just keep sitting there. So I decided to Kamil. He returned to look over at me where I got up from my chair. I gotta go see if I can calm Kamil down. The yak looked like he wanted to say something to that, but just nodded instead. Tell him he still needs to pay for his haircut. Will do. I stepped out of the hair salon, and there was Kamil standing on the sidewalk with his arms wrapped around himself, breathing in and out while his ears and tail flipped in a chaotic rhythm. Hey, another deep breath, another last of his tail, and then he turned to face me. Hey, Rex, you need something? That smile he was forcing was almost painful to look at. After taking in a deep breath of my own, I leaned in to look the crocodile in the face without making direct eye contact. Kamil, what happened in there? I don't think I've ever seen you that pissed off. Kamil looked away, avoiding my gaze. Sorry. I just lost control for a second there. I was trying to play nice, but he just kept doing things to get on my nerves, and I tried explaining what was bothering me, but he just wouldn't listen. More ear flicking, more tail assing. Kamil, it's okay. You're okay. We all have our bad days. Words Dr. Tanya had said to me tickled the back of my mind, and I took another deep breath. Look, let's start with the basics. What exactly about him was getting under your skin so badly? Well, he opened his mouth, then closed it, and then squirreled a hand through his hair fur, releasing another light flurry of red strands. It's just, you said how rude he was being to me. I mean, he was a little terse, but I didn't think he was really acting rude until you got up from the chair while he was working. And to be honest, you were kind of terse too. Well, he was being rude to me the last time I was there, so I got a little annoyed that he still hadn't apologized. I took a moment to consider that and then sighed. Okay, yeah, I can understand why that would upset you. Except this was Kamil we were talking about, and if there was anyone patient enough to work things out and avoid conflict, it would be him. Even when he did end up getting visibly upset, like that time at the party when Tucker got aggressive with the bunny girl. Or when he went venting to me about Tucker's death. Or when those two guys approached us and tried to. He said he didn't like flirting back then. Was that how he interpreted the flamingo's comment? And considering what Yusuf and Fierro had been talking about inside, is it because he's on a film? Is that what got you so riled up? Okay, first of all, where did you even hear that word? And second of all, no, he could be a prissy old gay guy all he wants. I really don't care. My confusion must have been sore on my face. Hypermass, film, gay. I could tell it was all connected somehow, but I still didn't know enough to see how. I knew I was attracted to males, and I knew that calling someone a hunk could be seen as flirting, but Kamil let out a sigh and averted his gaze again. Look, he was being rude, and that's the only reason why he pissed me off, so can we just drop the subject now? I get that part. It's just you don't usually get that upset when someone's rude to you, so I assumed there was more to it. And whenever you're around someone who acts, Rex, drop it. I flinch and froze like a disobedient child or a... Okay, I'm sorry for pushing you too much. His tail and ears slowed their anxious flicking but didn't stop. It's fine. And there was that snag rearing his ugly head when I least suspected it. So much for calming him down. Why was it so hard to give him support instead of frustrating him? When the silence grew quickly enough to be unbearable, I cleared my throat. Anyway, you kind of have to go back inside and pay for the haircut, so he let out a rough sigh. Alright, let's go. Inside we both found Yusuf and Fierro waiting for us. Still staying silent and while avoiding the flamingo's gaze, Kamil took some paper bills out of his wallet and set them down on the counter. Then he leaned over to Yusuf with a soft grunt. Come on, let's go. I kind of have somewhere I need to be. He left along with Yusuf, and I followed the pair of mammals out. I barely suppressed a wince at the sight of what was waiting for us. Salam Dai. Yo guys, how's it hanging? He looked from Yusuf to me and then over to let his gaze linger on a downcast crocodile. Is everything alright? Yeah, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. I didn't seem to satisfy the dragon, however. He looked over to the building behind us and then rolled his eyes with a snort. Was that catty old bitch of a hairdresser trying to give you shit again? I told you that you don't need to worry about anything he says, man. I mean, Yes, I know. Can you please just drop our wedding? Okay, sorry. Come on. Let's go get your mind off of things. Yeah. Kamil turned to me and Yusuf, giving the both of us a nod and a strange smile. See you later, you two. Have fun, Kamil. Later. With that, in a brief wave, Kamil headed off with Dai, leaving me and Yusuf standing in awkward silence on the sidewalk outside the hair salon. So, a few head scratches here, some quiet coughs there, glancing over but not quite looking at me. You, said you wanted to talk to me earlier this morning. Yeah, that's right. He knitted the bridge of his snout and briefly brushed his hair fur out of his eyes, only for it to fall right back into place. Well, it's going to be incredibly awkward for this to be our first real conversation, but all things considered, I feel like you should hear this. And I'll just be blunt, it's about Kamil. Oh? His ears were flicking, my jaw and shoulders were tense. I guess you had a talk with Kamil about what happened, huh? I could only nod and grit my teeth. And how did it go? I thought he might have gotten upset because he thought Fiera was flirting with him, and he really doesn't like that. But he told me that he was just annoyed at how rudely he was being treated. I couldn't see, but I could feel the yak rolling his eyes at that. Do you really think that Kamil of all people would get that upset over a little rude treatment? Well, I could only sigh and shake my head under his scrutiny. No, I don't. Yusuf nodded. I don't want to say he's homophobic, but he's homophobic. That word again, tightening my jaw as my stomach clenched. You mean he doesn't like gay people? Yeah. That is what that means. I guess I can't deny it either, can I? I'm not exactly thrilled about it myself, but I am glad we're on the same page. Do you think it's something that can be fixed? The yak scraped one of his hooves against the sidewalk. I wouldn't say fixed. He's not a busted machine or anything like that. Yeah, at least he does seem somewhat aware of it and is making an effort to be better. Unlike a certain dragon I know, that got a snort and a nod of understanding from me. He's not against all gay people though, is he? Well, it's more complicated than that. I mean, he's not going around running over the gays while tearing down all the pride flags within a mile proximity or something. What? Sorry, it's an in-joke I have with my non-football friends. What I'm saying is that he's not super aggressive about it. Oh, he doesn't hate gay people. I'm pretty sure he doesn't hate anyone, as a matter of fact. It's just that whenever he's around someone he knows is gay, it gets him really intense. When he sees a gay guy who doesn't act 100% like a typical straight man would, well, you saw how he was acting at Khadijah's grill yesterday. And yeah, he apologized to you for how he was acting earlier this morning, but he did still say some pretty messed up stuff. Wait, so you did hear what we were talking about? The yak let out another groaning grumble. Only a little bit. Anyway, you do have a point. Heifer could find out that one of his friends murdered someone, and he'd probably start spouting some shit about the natural instincts of animals because he needs to support them like a good friend should. This barely suppressed a flinch. Yeah, I could see him doing that. Heifer? Oh, that's something we bovine guys call each other. It used to be apex slang for livestock, so it's really offensive for someone who isn't a bovine to say that. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know? Alright then, I'll let you off the hook this time. His lips twitched upwards for a split second, then he cleared his throat. Anyway, we kinda got off track. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, he just has certain prejudices towards queer people and culture that he needs to get over. I mean, he was raised in a religious family and he does still pray. Wait, what does that have to do with anything? The yak stumbled over his words for a moment, staring at me through the veil of his hair fur. Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Not at all. It's just, look, I grew up in that kind of culture myself, so I can say this. It's not exactly the religion itself that's against gay people, but some of its followers can be. My brow furrowed as I processed that. Was that what Di had meant earlier? All that's besides the point, though. Basically, it's just him growing up believing something that turns out to be complete bullshit. That's another word that non-bovines can't say, just so we're clear. Right, got it. I scrubbed a hand over the bridge of my snout and sighed. I never knew about any of this. I just knew Kamil was one of my best friends ever since we were little. I didn't want to admit it out loud, but at least one part of me was still holding out hope he wouldn't mind me telling him I like guys. It took me a few seconds to realize the yak was still looking at me, his intense stare growing a little curious. Fuck it, I'm just going to ask. Are you gay? Every muscle and tendon in my body tensed all at once. Yeah, I am. And then released, freeing the long, slow, heavy sigh which had been caught in my chest. I've only ever told one other person that before. Oh, so you're in the closet. A quick glance around. No, I'm out here with you. Damn, Fiero really did have you petted, didn't he? What? Never mind. He cleared his throat. All I'm saying is you're trying to keep it a secret that you're gay. I mean, I guess. It's not really a secret. I just wasn't really planning on telling anyone. But how did you know? People only care about problems that are their problem. That's something my aunt used to tell me when I was little. So wouldn't that mean you're gay too, since you have a problem with how Kamil treats gay people? Shit. He held a hand over his muzzle, trying to cover up the red showing through his fur, but I could see it inside his flicking ears as well. Yes, I'm gay. But please don't tell anyone, okay? Alright, I won't. Another clearing of the bovine's throat. We're getting sidetracked again. I know it's frustrating. He has certain beliefs about queer people. The real question is, what are we going to do about it? I think you should talk to him. He just came out with it plain and simple. Talk to him? Me? We did just say you've been best friends since you were little, right? And to be honest, I think there's a lot more going on here than just being raised religious. A guy like him who's kind and understanding enough to stand up for his friends no matter what, and should know that it's wrong to be homophobic. If he's like that, then that suggests one of two things to me. Either he has some kind of traumatic experience involving a queer person, or he's in the closet because his parents or whoever told him being gay is wrong, and he's taking out his repressal on anyone who's out and proud. I mean, those are the two most common reasons for someone to be homophobic based on some stuff I've read. And I refuse to believe someone like Kamil would treat an entire group of people so coldly without good fucking reason. Well, good as in understandable. I mulled his words over, tensing my jaw as though I was literally chewing on them. And I thought about Kamil's reaction to Fiero, what he had said at the restaurant the day before. His aversion to flirting. If you know all this, why don't you try talking to Kamil yourself? My tongue stumbled for a moment, and I almost said Yusuf. My tongue stumbled for a moment, and I almost said yourself. I mean, homophobia, religion, and deep-seated personal trauma aren't exactly casual conversation topics you can talk about over lunch. Okay, that's fair. But you hang out with him before and after practice. You stay at the frat house, right? Can't you just, sit him down and talk it out sometime? The yak clicked his tongue in what I was starting to recognize as a nervous tick. I'm really not good with the whole heart-to-heart stuff. I get all emotional and bullheaded and end up not wanting to listen to what the other person has to say. Another word non-bovines shouldn't use. Good, you're getting it. We both let out a tiny laugh as the tension drained out of our shoulders. Ignoring all that shit, you're a lot closer to him, and I think he'd be a lot more willing to listen to your somewhat naive perspective of things. Besides, you seem way more affected by all this than I am. I think having that conversation would benefit both you and him more than if I was to try. He did make a good point, and besides, the way he did want to hear everything directly from Kamil. Alright, I'll talk to him. Then it's settled. I won't lie, that's a pretty big weight off my mind. Kamil's a good guy, and I really look up to him, but fuck, can he be frustrating to deal with sometimes? And I'm not just talking about the homophobia. You mind if I vent at you for a minute, because there are some things I really want to get off my chest. I mean, it is kind of rude to talk about someone behind their back, but as much as I liked him, there was plenty about the crocodile that frustrated me too. Trying to skirt about Tucker's behavior despite being well aware of it. Deep breath in, blow out the tension and anxiety. Go ahead. Alright. You probably noticed he can be pretty spineless. Once Yusuf got that out, the rest followed pretty easily. He's just way too conflict averse. He's always got to make sure no one's upset, even if that means nobody's happy. I mean, seriously, there's being kind to everyone, and then there's trying to defend someone getting upset over two dads kissing each other. The man probably couldn't pick a side to save his life. What could I do but nod in agreement? I know what you mean. Whenever Connor and I would get into a fight when we were little, he'd always try to find a compromise between the two of us. And I can appreciate now how he tried to reason with the both of us, but there were definitely times I was in the right and still had to apologize. As Shanoa as Yusuf gave me a sympathetic nod of his own. I hate it when he does that shit. In fact, there was one time he started scraping his hooves against the pavement. Okay, so you know how I try not to change in the locker room with the other guys? I played. I did see you going in and out of the bathroom stalls after practice today, yeah? Well, I'm a bit self-conscious about people seeing me naked. But the real reason is, well, Reggie. The moment he spoke the parent's name, I understood everything. You don't want him smacking your ass? Fuck no. But that didn't exactly stop him last year, and it turned into a whole thing. Yusuf started telling me the story of what had happened, what Wesley had said, what Kamil had said. And knowing what I knew about the crocodile and the panda and now the yak too, I could imagine exactly how it played out. Yusuf, my man, good job out there today. Heh, thanks. Gonna need that hustle on game day, so you better keep it up. You piece of shit. Don't you ever do that again. Oh, hey, no need to get so pissed off, man. Just don't fucking touch my ass, guy. Dude was just a little smack. I won't do it again. So can you just cool it already? I'll cool it when you learn to keep your fucking hands to yourself. You know, there's plenty of people who don't appreciate you getting in their personal fucking space. Guys, what's going on over here? This fucking jackass smacked my ass. I don't fucking appreciate it. Okay, first of all, that's completely uncalled for. And second, I know you're upset, but that's just what us guys on the team do. It's a bonding thing, so don't take it personally, alright? What? But hey, Yusuf, people are staring. But I'm sorry for yelling at you like that, Wesley. It's fine, man, really. And Wesley, maybe be a little more sparing with it. Just try to read the room, man. Yeah, I'll admit that was pretty poor timing on my part. You probably just weren't feeling it, huh? Sorry, Yusuf. It's fine. Kamil. Oh, hey, Yusuf. What the fuck was that? Why didn't you tell Wesley that he shouldn't be touching my ass at all? Do you expect me to just put up with that bullshit? Look, Yusuf, I get it. But like I said, smacking each other on the ass after a good practice is what the football team does. And yeah, Wesley can go a little overboard with it, but it's all a good fun. He doesn't mean anything by it. So just ignore him if it bothers you, alright? Literally, all I want is for him to stop trying to smack my ass. Is that really too fucking much to ask for? Look, I'm not trying to just miss your wants. I'm going to be real with you. You already have issues fitting in with a group. So I'm asking you to please not rock the boat too much. I'm trying to help you because I don't want you to be left out, man. I don't exactly like it either, but it's just the way things are. But Kamil, everyone on the team likes you, even Tucker likes you. If anyone could get them to understand basic fucking boundaries, even if it's not the way things are, it would be you. Why are you so fucking afraid of upsetting people who are more likely to actually listen to you? Answer me. It's just, I don't know. Everyone expects a lot from me, and I don't know what will happen if I don't meet their expectations. I'm sorry. Okay, fine. I get it. I'll keep my head down and keep the peace for your sake, alright? Thank you. I didn't even know what to say. He shouldn't have forced you to put up with something like you didn't like. No, he shouldn't have. But he was trying to do the best he could in that situation, and I understand why he did it, even if it still pisses me off. I mean, I was being extremely harsh on Reggie, even if I didn't approve of what he did. And I am kind of the odd one out on the offense team. The only non-mythical herbivore, a bullheaded piece of shit with anger issues, and when I'm not yelling my head off, I try to just keep to myself and stay out of everyone else's way. I'm trying to do the best I can too, but just because I can be emotional doesn't mean I'm wrong. I guess it doesn't, huh? I began to scratch at my lower jaw, averting my gaze as I thought about what the yak had just told me. But what did he mean? Everyone expects a lot from him. Yusuf clicked his tongue and then sighed. I think that's something you should ask him. But speaking as a herbivore, it may not be a legendary creature from some far off land, but I do know what it's like to have an apex looking down on you because you're just an uppity heifer. His tail lashed as he gritted his teeth. But why does it matter if you guys are herbivores? I mean, I know we carnivores need to be careful to not, like, show y'all teeth or look you guys straight in the eye and stuff, but my train of thought was cut off by a sharp snort from the yak. And here I was just thinking you were too cool to be in Apex. Did I say something wrong? You really don't know anything, do you? He was staring hard at me through his still saggy hair fur. I swallowed down the tension in my throat and lowered my gaze. I'm sorry. It's a deep breath in. It's fine. A slow, steady breath out. I still wish neither I or Kamil would have to worry about all this bullshit so we could feel like normal fucking people. Being the only two herbivores on the offense team means we have to deal with each other when the carnivores have a problem with either one of us. I have to speak up whenever he says something homophobic. He has to speak up whenever I get pissed off and start walking the boat. It's fucking exhausting having to always prove yourself while staying in line of what everyone else expects of you. I swallowed again, almost let out a low growl on the yak's behalf before I could stop myself. That does sound exhausting and really fucking unfair. He sighed. It's just the way things are. But you were right, you know. The other guys already was respecting and treat Kamil like an equal, so surely he doesn't have to keep proving himself to them. I know he doesn't, but does he know? I could only let out a sigh of my own in answer to that. I'll probably have to talk to him about that as well then. I know I appreciate it, and I'm sure Kamil will too. And hey, if you fail, you can always try again later. Sounds like something Kamil would say. Maybe a little. He laughed, finally giving me a full smile while looking directly at me. You know, it's funny, but you are pretty easy to talk to. Maybe it's because you're a newcomer or just the weirdest apex I've ever met. Well, I'm glad I have earned your approval. I gave him a smile of my own, showing a little bit of teeth. Even if he did last his tail a time or two, the yak didn't turn away. Well then, I guess I know what I've got to do. Tomorrow's Sunday, right? I'll have all day to try and hang out with him. Plenty of time to talk about everything. His homophobia, his obsession with keeping the peace, the pressures he's under, whatever baggage he might have, how you and I feel about things, everything. Cool. Just don't tell him I call him Spiners, alright? Sure, alright. Another laugh, another flick of his tail, another click of his tongue. So, what are you planning to do with him tomorrow anyway? I don't know, probably just tag along on whatever he has planned for today. His smile grew mysterious. So you're basically going to go on a date with him. He bloomed across my snout as I turned away from the yak. I gulped when his smile only grew wider at that. Then he let out a quiet chuckle while reaching over to pat my shoulder. Alright, I'll stop giving you a hard time. I was just teasing, man. I sighed with relief, but still, his reassurance did nothing to dampen the heat under my scales. Alright, I think that's about enough for me. I'll leave the rest in your hopefully capable hands. Thanks for the vote of confidence. And thank you for telling me all this. I think what we talked about is really gonna help me to deal with Kamil. Don't miss that. I want to help Kamil as much as you, so it's the least I can do. I'll see you later. Yeah, later. We waved to one another as we went our separate ways. Yusuf back towards the campus and me towards the lab complex. Between everything Kamil and Yusuf had told me, I had plenty to occupy my thoughts on the way there. And I still didn't know what a himbo was. I pulled out my phone to look up the definition while waiting at a crosswalk. I wasn't sure whether to be offended or flattered. My thoughts turned back to the matter at hand as I continued on my way. Even Even if I'd say otherwise to Yusuf, I didn't want to do this. The idea of approaching one of my closest friends about his homophobia was already making me feel exhausted. And that was just the start of what I had to discuss with him. But I had to do it for my sake and for Yusuf's and for the team's. For his sake. A deep breath in and then a heavy sigh out as I passed through the lab complex gate. I know that as I entered Dr. Abraham's house and got myself some dinner. I know that as I headed upstairs, showered, and then went straight to bed. I could do this. Greetings. This is the public build that adds part 2 of day 5 of Kamil's route. So Kamil, Yusuf, and Rex went to the hair salon and met this super gay and super femme hairdresser. Things went awry, though, and the boy ended up getting Rex a little pep talk to get him and Kamil to sort out their issues. Is that horny big dick dinosaur going to claim that not wino as his own? Or is he going to fuck up and lose everything but his virginity? I have no idea. So what do you think of this date? Listen, guess I'm a big fan of Chelly, huh? Now, I shouldn't stroke Chelly's ego any more than necessary. Now, do me a favor and rate the game if you haven't. I'm kinda obliged to ask you this since you like it so much. What do you think of Kamil now? We've gotten a good idea of what Kamil's like, so it's good you figure out what your thoughts of him are. Currently, some of the game's variables function in ways that make the end of the build evaluation not work as intended, so please don't freak out if you don't receive a specific line from me. This feature will work as intended in a future build. Click the button on the left to become a patron and get early access to builds as well as work in progress, guides, and other stuff in the higher tiers. This build has had a slower development compared to the last few updates. After the wild and hectic development of Kamil's Day 5, Chile decided to work on something more self-contained. Working on the draft was initially hard for him, but it was a relatively smooth process. Day 5 is a really fun one that has a lot of great character moments and sets up big time for Day 6. Believe or not, this is the first day where most of it was written by Chelly himself instead of Nemo, taking full charge of the writing department. Of course, Nemo still edited it all because Chile is a bit of a himbo when it comes to that, but it's still pretty significant. Even I'm surprised with how large this day became, but it turned out great in Chile's opinion, and that's all that matters. Next build will actually include a side story featuring Yusuf and a new character. I hope you enjoy it when you get to read it. This build's fan contribution is piece by Sin. Here it is. Hey look, it's me, it's a funny skeleton. Finally, we get you nowhere though. I would say something like, based on your level of horniness, you are a huge fucking slut, but there is no endgame stat that's sewn to you, so yeah. About Kamil, that scene of him outside right after that argument he had with the flamingo, like he was hugging himself. When he hugs himself like that, there's certainly something going on mentally inside of him. And I think, in my view, Kamil is gay. I think he's in the closet with it. I think he knows he's deep inside he's gay, but he doesn't want to be, and he doesn't want to accept it because in his for a number of things. One, he comes from a culture where that's not generally accepted. I mean, the religion itself may not necessarily condemn it, but the people who follow that faith have decided to take on the idea that homosexuality is wrong. And his parents probably told him that it was wrong also. So I think his mother's dead. I forgot about his father. I don't know whether his father's alive or not, but I'm sure he got other people in his family. Other family members, and he probably doesn't want to disappoint them by becoming gay. Well, publicly being gay, going out as being gay. So he doesn't want to disappoint them, and he doesn't want to disappoint the teammates on the football team who also don't really approve of that, like Dye the Dragon, who I really don't like. I like Dye at first when I first saw him, but as I got to know him, that's when I decided I don't like him. I don't like him at all. Plus, he's prone to believing in conspiracy theories and all that stuff. So, while there's no chance of Dye coming around on that issue, there still is some hope for Kamil, because he doesn't hate gay people. He doesn't hate anybody, but he does have a prejudice. In that conversation both Rex and Yusuf had, Yusuf encouraged Rex to talk to Kamil about his homophobia, and Rex agreed to it. So whenever Day 6 come out, it's going to be kind of tough for the two of them. It's a tough conversation, but it's one that's needed. And they'll probably go about fighting each other verbally at least. And maybe they might not talk to each other for a little bit, but I think Kamil will eventually come around to whatever Rex tells him about the topic of being gay and homophobia. And we also got to learn more about Yusuf and why he seemed to be avoiding people in the showers. With Reggie the Panda smacking him on the ass, which is a big part of football culture. They do that as a show of appreciation for something you did, or something good you did for the team. While Reggie is part of the toxic culture of the football team, in that particular instance with Yusuf in that flashback, I don't think he was doing harm, because that's normal. He was doing that to appreciate Yusuf. He was doing that to thank Yusuf for what he did on the football team. And Yusuf got angry with Reggie for doing that, smacking him on the ass, and it was a violation of his privacy. Now, the way Kamil handled it, I think he wanted to keep the peace there, so he told Yusuf that it was part of the culture of the football team. You do that as a show of appreciation, but he never really reprimanded Reggie for violating Yusuf's privacy of space. I mean, even if it is part of football culture, I think Kamil still just told Reggie, hey, out of respect for Yusuf, don't do that again. Don't do that to him. So, apparently, Kamil is used to trying to be the voice of reason and trying to de-escalate stuff. And in this conversation that Rex is about to have with Kamil, I think it's time for Kamil to get some advice of his own. He also often gives people on the football team some advice and de-escalation and stuff like that. But after the way he cursed out the flamingo, who was very feminine and gay, Rex really needs to try to talk to Kamil and just let him know what's going on, because the way he yelled at the flamingo, that's very unlike him. The reason why Kamil lashed out at the flamingo is clearly because the flamingo is feminine in the way he acts. Because while he may not have an issue with gays who are more masculine, he does have an issue with gays who are very feminine. So, and based on the way the two of them, both Kamil and the flamingo looked at each other right before he started cutting their hair, it was obvious these two had history. It wasn't a good one. And usually, when people are rude to Kamil and he doesn't lash out like that, but Kamil, he said that the flamingo was rude. I don't think the flamingo was rude, but I think some of that homophobia played into Kamil's reaction. I don't think the flamingo was rude. So, we got to see Tucker again in a flashback. So, I think that's all for now. I don't know when day 6 will come out, because I think next month is supposed to be some kind of a short story featuring Yusuf and a new character. So maybe in April we'll get day 6 for Kamil. I have no idea. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Goodbye.